Awesome. Thanks, Tita. Okay, cool. It is recording on my side. So hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And to those who's also watching online, please comment as we go. Yeah, so I think we'll kick it off, maybe just with short introductions. We can hear from everyone just who you are, where you are based, and the type of work that you're currently busy with. So I will start, and then I'll just give over. So my name is Kelsey. I am a music therapist based in South Africa. I'm absolutely in love with mental health and psychiatry. So I'm doing a bunch of things. I'm doing a lot of pro bono work at psychiatric hospitals. And then I've recently started as a music therapist at a school. This is also mainly mental health psychiatry based. And yes, I am part of the World Federation of Music Therapy. And I just love global interaction. So yeah, that is me. Samuel, can I give over to you?
Sure thing. Thank you, Kelsey. So yes, I'm Samuel, would be how I say it in Spanish, but people call me Samuel, Sam, and other names as well, as I have lived in several places around the world, including China. So I have a bit of a Chinese name as well. And I am currently based in Germany, although right now I'm in Mexico for a few weeks. And I am a music therapist. I did my master's at Heidelberg in Germany. And before that, I did a bachelor's in music in the US. So I'm currently the only music therapist at a nursing home in Germany. And I'm working there 75% of my time. But then additionally, I'm also helping with a number of projects, including with the International Association for Music and Medicine, where I am the chair of communications and outreach and part of the executive committee. I'm also recently got involved with the World Federation, and I'm part of the Publications Commission. Beyond that, I also have a business where I help music therapists and music therapy organizations with their digital presence. So I've been working a long time with a nonprofit based in the US called Sam's Fans. Not after me, I must clarify. People always think that, but it's a wonderful organization. I encourage you to look it up on Google if you wish. And also I help other clients. And lastly, I do work with refugee children in Germany, where it's been also for a while pro bono work. And now we're really looking into getting funding, and soon we will be getting funding so that we can continue working with this population. So I'm really passionate about all kinds of music therapy work, but I particularly love working with children. But now that I'm working with the other end of the spectrum, I really do love it, and I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, should I pass it to somebody?
Yes, please.
Yeah, how about Frederick?
Cool.
Thanks, Samuel. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Frederick Raw. Currently a registrar in psychiatry, so a psychiatrist in training at the University of Cape Town in South Africa. And I'm also currently working at several mental health hospitals in and around the Cape area. And yeah, I'm just very passionate about applying different therapy strategies in mental health and well-being, mental illness, and trying very hard to integrate allied disciplines into mainstream psychiatric care so that it can be seen not just as a medical discipline, but something that a lot of different professionals can get involved in. Yeah, I met Kelsey last year. We worked together, and yeah, she introduced me to the world of music therapy as a treatment modality, and I was very encouraged and excited to see where we could try and take it going forward. And yeah, so that's me.
Thanks so much, Frederick. You can pass it to the next person.
Okay, Corne.
Thank you. So I'm a math teacher. My name is Corne, sorry. I'm from Potch, South Africa, and I'm a math teacher. I've been working at the university for a few years. I've been a lecturer there and teaching students. I really enjoyed that. And then the Lord moved me to the schools and I started teaching the children. I love children. Actually, I just love people. I think that's better to express myself. And I enjoy seeing what God is doing around the world. Yes, with everything he's busy with, and it's a privilege to be a part of that. And I want to pass it on to someone, but I don't know how to pronounce the name, so please help me out.
Okay.
Kelsey.
Debashri.
Debashri. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Devashri Dasgupta. I am basically from India and currently based in Pondicherry, India. I am a master's candidate for medical music therapy, and I have a background in legal education and legal practice. After I experienced the benefits of music in my health condition, I shifted my switch to music therapy, and I'm hopeful that in future I'll be able to help as many people as possible. And I have been learning Indian classical music since I was 5. I'm a vocalist, and I am inclined towards working for women and war-affected population, for which I'm hopeful, and meeting you amazing people, I am even more hopeful. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Debashri. Tina?
Okay. My name is Tita. I'm a music therapy student from Thailand in Southeast Asia. And now I'm almost finished my thesis and almost graduate. Yeah. And I want to work with children. In my internship, I work a lot with children with special needs like autism. Yeah. And I also work in the rehabilitation institute. Yes, and also palliative care unit. Yes, and I'm a student delegate for Southeast Asia region. Yeah, and nice to see you all. Thank you for joining us today.
Cool. Thanks so much, Tita. I think we can jump right into it.
Yeah, okay. I will just briefly talk about something about advocacy. Yeah. So advocacy is the act of the supporting a cause or a proposal. It happens when someone or when organization make their voice to their communities. Yeah, this can focus on educational aspect. Yeah, it can be happen in the personal level, like when we talk to someone about our profession, or in the organization level, that when we launch the campaigns to the public. Yeah, there's many reasons that we should do advocacy for music therapy, so we can increase the access to the service for clients and elevate our profession, and we will be greater respect and recognition. Yeah, and today we will talk about advocacy experience from all of us. Yeah, and I will add some questions for you to discuss together. And for audience in this YouTube live, please feel free to comment. And if you have any questions or suggestions, you can type it in the comment box and we will try to answer them. Okay, let's get started from the first part. We will discuss on how therapists or students in the different parts of world experience MT advocacy. Yeah, like what activity did you join for music therapy advocacy? And for other profession, you can tell us more about your own profession advocacy experience too. Okay, anyone can start first about the activities in your advocacy in your region.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
Can I
thank you.
speak?
I wanted to nominate someone. Debashri, go for it.
Okay, so firstly, I just speak about the space that I am in right now. So my master's in medical music therapy course is in Center for Music Therapy Education and Research, which is under the university called Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth in Pondicherry. So to address the question, I understand that what is advocacy is regardless of our experiences or professional training, what kind of causes or ideas that we are supporting, and if we are consistent on that or not, and how are we expressing and communicating our experiences. So I see it in 4 small compartments. As educational, as Sita mentioned, educational, organizational, micro level, and macro level. So education level, in my space, I see a lot of work which is happening. Because in our center in the university, which is very much devoted towards research and education music therapy, there are multiple courses, starting from post-graduation, diploma courses, master's courses, doctoral research courses, observation, clinical internships, so on and so forth. We have very efficient faculty who are already associated with the World Federation of Music Therapy, associated with awareness, spreading the word, the information about music therapy. We have Miss Bhuvaneshwari Ramesh, who is the doctoral researcher in our university, also a member of WMTD and licensed for Southeast Asia. So with different education courses, students are getting aware. In our department, right now there are 14 students who are enrolled. Earlier it was very low. The number was very low. So this is happening, I understand, through awareness for sure. And we get the basic education, the theoretical education through the course, and then we try to apply in our practicing course in the healthcare sector, because now I'm moving from the education setup to the organizational point. What is the organization here? Organization is the healthcare facility in our university, which is a hospital setting. There are different kinds of different departments like pediatrics, psychiatry, obgyn, ENT, pulmonary. Then we get exposure to communities as well, such as geriatry, orphanages, special needs kids, schools. So this is the part of organization. Now micro, what is micro? Micro is when we are able to talk to the other person about what is micro level. So even when we are talking to the doctor, how are we communicating our passion? How are we communicating our ideas? Those are only possible through demonstrating and collecting evidence of our work. So in the healthcare setting, we are demonstrating what kind of work we can do. And then we share the evidence, documents, pictures, videos that we collect, so that we try to communicate the work that has been happening. And the last, which I see, is the macro level. Macro level is when we are organizing like we are communicating with each other here, or the workshops that are conducted internationally or nationally. So in these all 4 cases, I feel that in India right now, all of the factors are happening. And I'm very hopeful that in future, with research, more documentation, more evidence-based work, people will become more aware of what is music therapy. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Devashri. Oh, we can see many levels of advocacy in India. Yeah. And who will go next? Can you do it, Samuel?
Sure, yeah. To jump off your points, Debashri, I think that was a wonderful way of putting or systematizing, I guess, the way that advocacy can work. So I think I can jump into providing some examples from my experience, where I've had experience basically in Mexico, Germany, the US, a bit in Colombia, and then internationally. So I think I have definitely had these experiences of at the micro level, talking to others, advocating directly with individuals, and at the same time thinking about these macro level discussions that we need to have. So in my experience, I guess if I go chronologically with it, first I was in the US, and it wasn't until the end of my bachelor's that I learned about music therapy. I think I learned about it because I was starting to be a performer. And then towards the end of my career, I thought maybe going in another direction. So I started doing research, and then I was sort of thinking between musicology, and then I found music therapy. And so I luckily decided for music therapy, which did combine the things that I'm passionate about. But the thing is, once I learned about it, I joined, or I did an internship with Sam's Fans, the organization I mentioned earlier, which I think it's a wonderful example of advocacy from another world, because this is an organization that was started by a mom, and she started this organization in honor of her daughter, who unfortunately passed away. But her daughter really benefited from music and art therapy when she was in the hospital. So her mom started this organization to continue supporting these therapies for seriously ill children. So I joined the organization, and first of all, it's already a wonderful example of people who are not music therapists advocating for music therapy, which I think is also very necessary, because sometimes we can fall into the trap of having an echo chamber, right, where we're sharing all this information about music therapy, but only other music therapists are listening to it, and then it becomes a bit it doesn't have the impact that we want it to have, right? So anyways, then this organization started and I joined, and the sort of things that we have been doing for advocacy have been, obviously social media is one. And social media, you know, I've been working on it for a number of years for a number of organizations. I think it's an easy starting point for advocacy. I think sometimes there's this danger that I'm talking about where social media is not meant to give you something that you're not interested in, right? It's meant to give you exactly the things that you're continuously looking for. So unless somebody is looking for music therapy, then it's harder for them to get the content that we might be putting out. But then with this organization, because it was mostly the founder's friends who were following the organization, it was her contacts, her family. It was basically a bunch of people who didn't not know anything about music therapy, but really cared about her, about her family. Then they started obviously sharing and learning about music therapy through our social media network. So I think perhaps one idea there is to identify these organizations, these champions that are in the community who have benefited from music therapy and they want to do something more. Maybe they have started a project, they have started an organization, and rather than starting our own project that is called, you know, music therapy, whatever, which is definitely a starting point. I'm not saying it's bad, but then maybe working in conjunction with these other organizations that have completely different audiences is a great work. It's a great way to reach people and reach groups that maybe we wouldn't reach otherwise. So that's been one thing, the social media. Another thing that I have been very intentional in doing has been writing online. So we have our website and we have a blog. Basically, I have written almost 100 posts on different topics around music therapy and art therapy. And that's a whole different algorithm, right? So like if we're talking about digital, social media is one thing, then you have search engines where people are looking for things, and then you gotta have content that is useful for them, right? So what we've been doing there has been, okay, let's write content that is perhaps more specific. So for example, how can music help your child in the hospital, or like 5 music activities that you can engage with your children. So things that people are already looking for. So if you imagine somebody who could benefit from music therapy, they're not going to look up music therapy from a child unless they specifically have heard about it before. So they might be looking more for ways in which I can support my child, or ways in which I can support my health. So we also have to think from their point of view, right? The point of view of people who we want to reach, who do not know about music therapy. What kind of content are they looking for, right? So that's another area that I've been doing. And then, you know, moving chronologically, then I went to Germany. Unfortunately, I have not been too engaged in advocacy in Germany, just because I do speak German, but it's still definitely not as facile. It doesn't come as easily to me to speak German. So I am part of the organization and so on, but at the macro level, at least, I have not been engaged in many advocacy projects, even though they do have a strong tradition there of advocacy. They have working groups that are in contact with government officials, and they are constantly trying to get music therapy, for example, to be covered by insurance, to be recognized by government bodies as treatment modality, etc. So there is definitely a strong tradition there on that. But my personal experience has been more at the micro level with my colleagues at the nursing home. I do still, even though they have had music therapists for maybe 5-6 years or a bit longer, I still see a lot of misconceptions on what music therapy is, that they sometimes express very subtly, or like that you hear a way that they express about what I'm doing. So I think there is what you were talking about, Debashri, about explaining to them. I do have the idea of having perhaps like a workshop or a presentation where I can tell them, like, this is sort of what I do, and this is how we can support each other, etc. And then lastly, you know, so that I can give other people a chance to talk, my experience in Mexico has been interesting, because I have not worked as a music therapist here in Mexico, but just because I was trained as a music therapist and I am Mexican, and I do come to Mexico maybe once, twice per year, I have been engaged and started conversations with other groups here locally, and with the association here in Mexico, which is really recently formed since last year, I believe. So for example, there, we just had an event, I think a month ago or so, where there were invited speakers from around the world, and I was one of the speakers, and I talked about my experiences internationally with music therapy. So I think having these conversations is important, and particularly in countries where music therapy is not that developed, like in Mexico, then the audience definitely is more likely to be one that does not know music therapy, right? It's more likely to be music teachers or musicians or psychologists, etc., just because there is not that base of music therapists who would be interested in this, right? So I think that's very different in a country where it's getting started, as opposed to a country where it already has a history and a tradition. So yeah.
Oh, great. That's a lot. Oh, and I found something similar in Mexico and Thailand. Yeah, we have few music therapists and not very well known in here. Yeah. So okay, can I go next? Yeah. Okay. So in Thailand, when before I studied music therapy, it's really hard to find the information about this. I found only 2 or 3 books in Thai language. Yeah, and mostly I found the content from the social media, as Samuel mentioned. Yeah, and on the website. Yeah, and I know everything when I came to study here, and I just joined the advocacy activities when I was in here. I joined the workshop, yeah, and the camp, like the music camp for children, yeah, that the professors arranged it. And sometimes we have like case conference. But the most often thing that I face is like in the personal level, that everyone who I know, who I first met, they will ask, what is music therapy, or who are you, what are you working with? They rarely know about us. Yeah, so I kind of do the personal advocacy activity. Yeah. Yes, and for my college, yeah, they have some project from government. Yeah, they do like the session for children or the elderly. Yeah, and we got the financial support from government. Yeah, and it's the good start for our profession in Thailand. Mhm. Yeah, that's all activity that I have experienced in my college. Oh, and when I joined WSMT, I write some blog posts and some articles on the website. So I think that will help to advocate on website and social media. And I hope that everyone write their own experience so we can read it easily, because it's really hard to find the experience things. They're mostly in the research or the educational or the formal things. Yeah. And it will be great if you can share your experience like informal, like the blog or something like that. Thank you.
Thanks, Dita. Is it fine if I jump in?
Mm.
Gosh, I just have to respond. Like, I'm so inspired listening to you guys and what you're currently doing. I think, I can relate with most of what has already been said in the space. I think in Africa, it's the same a lot, like what you guys are experiencing in terms of, it's, music therapy is not very well known. And also, Samuel, like you were saying, in terms of music therapy being seen as a professional, real, if I can use that word, healthcare service from government bodies. That's such a big lack in Africa at the moment. It's not recognized at all. So yeah, I think, on a micro level, there's lots of advocating happening in Africa in the sense of social media, like you also mentioned, lots of public speaking, lots of Facebook, Instagram, using all those mediums, which I think is great. It really is great. But I do feel like there should be more, in the sense of, the micro level advocacy needs to be more frequent, so that we start moving to kind of a systemic level, so that we can actually reach that system and reach the government and reach the people who makes the decisions. So for me, that's what I'm currently focusing on when advocating is interdisciplinary teams, simply because I meet so many healthcare workers who have no idea what music therapy is, or who heard of it, and who they don't really believe that it's actually a real form of therapy. And there's just no way for us to get the government or a system to believe in music therapy if other healthcare providers don't believe in music therapy. So for me, that's really what I'm trying to focus on, and really to bring advocacy to interdisciplinary teams, because we need more voices to stand behind us. And I guess also, in a sense, it's and this is kind of another discussion, we won't go into it, but it's also it's art therapy in general. Music therapy is one side of the shape. You know, it's dance and movement therapy, it's drama therapy, it's art therapy. So it really is arts therapy in general that also needs advocating. Yeah, so I really am very passionate about advocating for music therapy. I think it's so important. And I think these kind of discussions need to happen more regularly.
Perhaps one thing that I would add that came to my mind was particularly when you were talking about Tita is how you say your name. Yes. When you were talking about how there's only a couple books in the Thai language, I think the issue of language is a very, very big one. I mean, we're talking right now and we're having this discussion in English, and really, if you look at least I can look at sort of the amount of content and things going on in English as compared to Spanish or German or Chinese. It's really a big difference. And, you know, I understand, of course, English is a universal language and whatnot, but when you're talking about advocacy, if you're talking about the bigger systems, you know, English can get you so far, but I think it's definitely also important to focus on our own languages, developing the content, having these conversations in our local languages. I don't know how it is in South Africa, but you know, India, Thailand, Mexico. For me, I have the benefit of Spanish being a language that is spoken in many countries. So we definitely have some things going on, but even then, when you look at it, like even talking about research, talking about digital content or events, it really pales in comparison to what is going on in English. So I think that's a bit of a harder task, but I think it's also necessary.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because in Thailand it's really less Thai content, and we need to like meeting within the Thai music therapist often, like every month or something like that, so we can develop our profession in here. Yeah. And Cornai and Frederick, have you ever joined a music therapy advocacy before? Do you have any experience about that?
Okay, Kunai.
Thank you. Well, I actually only heard of it quite recently, like last year, I think. And now everyone is frozen. So I don't know if it's my problem.
So we can hear you and we can see you.
Okay, good. So what I do know is there's a big need for that in education. What I can see is that children struggle to express themselves. They don't know how to tell, this is what I'm feeling. And if you can give them a way to express themselves through music or art or which kind of therapy, that will really help them. Because that, for me, that's the most difficult part of education. Children don't know how to express their feelings. I think a way to go is maybe, because I don't know how many schools know about music therapy. In Poch, well, maybe only our school, I'm not sure. Maybe a few schools, I'm not sure. But if you can maybe do parent meetings, just to give some information, maybe some, even some testimonies about it. Because what I see, children are really struggling and the parents are noticing. And they are really eager for any help they can get. So because children start doing stuff and they don't know how or why they're doing it, and they need help. And so please keep on doing what you're doing. And I think if there can be a point where they put a music therapist in each and every school, compulsory, that will be excellent. But therefore, I think, Kelsey, you said it, you need to be heard where your voice counts. And that will be in the Department of Education for education. So I think if you can, I don't know, maybe start with parent meetings, maybe you go visit some schools and just tell and share what you're doing, give them an exercise on how you do it. And they can see it's not something airy-fairy, it's not something difficult, it's not weird. It's just using your normal built-in talent and gift of creativity. And through that, express yourself, and that really helps you with your inner healing. So yeah, that's from my.
I think
Thanks, Corné.
just to add on to what Corné said, for us in South Africa, first of all, I wanted to just add on to what Samuel said about the language issue. We've got in South Africa 11 official languages, and a lot of the people that we have to deal with in the government sector are speaking African languages, which makes it very difficult to conduct therapy, because often not only do we have a real rarity of music therapists, but those music therapists often only speak the major languages like English, and not actually the local dialects, which poses a barrier to using the modality in a healthcare setting and in education even. The other thing I think which is very important is that in terms of education, to qualify music therapists in South Africa, it's, as Kelsey said, not really something that is well known to be an official profession. It's not recognized by the health professions bodies in the country as being something which is on the same level or standing as, for example, a medical degree or a psychology degree even. There are much more entrenched allied professions like occupational therapy, social work, which enjoy more professional recognition, while music therapy and art therapy in general, as Kelsey said, it's not only music therapy, but many other forms of art therapy, which are currently lacking in having validity in South Africa. And I think that's very sad. And what it basically means is that the only space available currently to exercise music therapy in a real way is in the private sector, where people have to pay for a service or a therapy session, which is really sad because it's the minority of people that can benefit from that, due to the socioeconomic status in South Africa, as in many places around the world, as I'm sure it's similar in Mexico, India, Thailand. The government structures are the ones that actually need to entrench music therapy in them. And I think what's sad is that, many other professions have got it right, in that where I work, for example, we work in multidisciplinary teams, as Kelsey has mentioned previously. And in those teams, you never see a team without an occupational therapist. You never see a team without a physiotherapist, but you very, very rarely see an art therapist of any form, and a music therapist especially. And I think one thing that we saw last year when I worked with Kelsey is that it actually had an amazing impact on people. And the reason for that, I think, is very straightforward, is that music is a universal language. Music is a form of expression, as Corné said, that everyone around the world can relate to in some form. Even young children, without being taught what music is or what music therapy can do, can find some joy in expression through music. And it can be children of different race groups, different ages, different languages, and they can enjoy themselves and express themselves through that. And I think it is sad that that hasn't been encouraged as a professional registration category, first of all, and that government is not pushing harder for the modality to come across. So I think really in South Africa, from a South African context, it is up to individuals to advocate around music therapy, like Kelsey is doing, and to spread it around to health professionals around the world. Because I think Kelsey's right in that a lot of the health professionals, the educationalists, the people that work with children in early childhood development, they don't know enough about these opportunities, these possibilities that art therapy can afford them. And I think if we can have more discussions like this, if we can use social media, television, those sort of things, you know, in kids programs, to show that some form of assistance can be given through music, then we'll be moving forward. But I think one of the first steps that we need to take in terms of advocacy for music therapy is to get it to get educational programs set up at tertiary level, through high school, through tertiary level universities, to get programs in place where people can study the science and the art behind it, so that we can get more people into the profession. Because that, and then in conjunction with that, you know, showing the officials in the various departments in the government that this is actually something that needs to be integrated into the mental health care product offering, if you can put it like that, of the country, much as you know, a social worker or an occupational therapist is integrated. So that's from my side, just where we are at in terms of advocacy in South Africa.
Thank you very much. I think we cover all of the first part, like we talk about the personal experience, and we also talk about the organization that we work with, or association that we work for advocacy. Yeah, so let's move to the next part, the second part. Kelsey?
Sure. I think actually, you know, I mean, we've been touching on the second part with this conversation so much. And I guess I'm just interested, you know, you guys mentioned, I know we're missing Darshita because she also needs to, she's an occupational therapist. She's currently working in a hospital. So she also actually needs to share, but we'll just wait until she tunes in. But I'm interested in the kind of context that you guys are working in at the moment. What does your team look like? Specifically, Courtney and Frederick, the interdisciplinary team, what professions are present? Frederick, I know you mentioned that there's no music therapist that you're working with at the moment. I think, Courtney, you are working with a music therapist. You've been starting to quite recently. So Courtney, I'd love to hear your experience just about how you're seeing music therapy now, working with a music therapist, and just in general. Sorry guys, I'm throwing out the questions because the answers, it's just linking so much, so I don't see a point of separating them. And just you know, what would you encourage us as music therapists to advocate about? Like, how should we go about it? We've brainstormed about some ways, but what is the content? What do you feel that you need to know? What do you don't know? Where's the need? Where's the gap? Yeah.
I think I will start off with a question for you. And maybe it's a silly question, but what is the main focus? Just 3 sentences. The main focus of music therapy. I don't know who wants to answer, but maybe, but wait, Samuel.
Great, Samuel, good luck.
Sure. I mean, I think, to put it simply, I would say that it is about using music in all its facets to achieve what some call non-clinical goals, or to promote well-being and health. I would put it like that.
Okay. Yeah, as Kelsey said, we only started with working with a music therapist quite early, recently this year, and I can tell you the reaction of the kids. Ma'am, we love this, because they seem to get to know more about themselves through it. They suddenly realize, wow, I can actually do music. I can write a song. I can keep a beat. I can't keep a beat, but I'm working on it, or whatever. So they enjoy it. And as long as people enjoy it, then you can move deeper. So I think I think the important thing at school level will be there should be an enjoyment factor in it. Otherwise, it's just, I need to go see a therapist. No, thank you. Been there, done that. You're not interested. So I think for me, I think the enjoyment factor is really, really, really important. And I'm in a school where we're working from grade R up to grade 12. And so right through all those grades, still enjoyment is key. Even in the 10, 11, 12, that means 16, 17, 18-year-old, they need to enjoy it. Life is hard enough. So I think for you, the enjoyment factor should be key.
Thanks, Cornay.
I think if I may just add on, thanks, Kelsey. I think Cornay has hit on something very important there, and that is that, then, you know, in many aspects, I speak from the perspective of a healthcare worker, who often is involved in treating more clinically, you know, related disorders of mental health specifically, and that's usually the field where music therapy has greatest impact. And I know that's where Kelsey's passion lies, but I think what's important is, you know, things like psychology, psychotherapy are actually sort of entrenched in treatment programs for patients around the world. Occupational therapists is entrenched. As Kelsey said, we do have someone that can give more insight into that aspect. But I think what's good about it is that, you know, music therapy is so broad, and it's so there's no confinements for music therapy. You know, it can be individualized to a patient's needs, and it can be used in various forms. And I think what's nice about that is it breaks away from the traditional structure of the boxes in which we as mental health care practitioners work in terms of diagnosing patients and treating patients with certain criteria, certain conditions that need to be met. And I think it is nice in the context that, you know, you're not seen as someone who's got a problem if you want to engage in music therapy per se, whereas it's just something that you should enjoy, and it can actually promote happiness, well-being, a de-stressor. In a general context, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a pathology in our language, you know, a disorder per se, to actually benefit from it. Whereas, you know, in many other fields, you have to have something wrong before you'll be sent to such a person. And I think that's really amazing. And I think just in terms of what we would like to know is, you know, more information about what kind of services can a music therapist offer a person in general. You know, we hear about the term music therapy, and we of course know that it involves music, but as Kelsey said, I think it goes so much further than just music, and it can benefit patients in so many different contexts. Patients with so many different kinds of problems can see a music therapist and benefit, even if it's in a small way. And maybe Kelsey can elaborate, or any of the music therapists can sort of elaborate on what types of things can a music therapist assist with. Because I think in terms of a healthcare professional, you know, we're always invested in something when we know what it can do for our patients. If we can't see what it can do to make our patients better, I think that's where we sort of go off the tracks in terms of wanting to recognize music therapy as a validated profession. And I think that's where we need to start in terms of getting music therapy on the map, knowing exactly the scientific, or if I can say, the rigorous background of where do the things come from that music therapists can do, and why are they relevant to our patients.
If I may just quickly state that I misspoke earlier, I said non-clinical goals, and I meant that we work with non-musical goals, which can be, of course, clinical goals. So we're not teaching patients how to play a sonata or something, but we're particularly looking at these goals that you mentioned, Frederick. So I just wanted to briefly make that correction.
Yeah, no, sure, absolutely.
Thanks, Samuel. And just exactly on that point, Samuel, that I think what is important for us is to kind of also voice the conceptions that people have around music therapy, in the sense that we're teaching music for kids. That's one I get a lot, so that's the only reason I'm bringing it up. But I know there's a lot of misperceptions, and I think Frederick, exactly like you said, it might be helpful diving into the terminology of other healthcare workers to maybe just help them understand that music therapy, the different ways we can use music therapy for counseling, for grief work. I know there's a lot of psychologists that usually ask me, I don't know how I don't know when to refer to you. I don't know when to refer a patient. And obviously that is because the benefits of music therapy is unknown, when it can actually be so beneficial in many different contexts. So that's very, very true. Thanks for that, Frederick. Yeah, is there anyone else who would like to jump in on?
So as I heard from Connie and Frederick, I would like to give some instances. Before music therapy education, I was in music education, imparting music education to kids. So at the very simplest level, there were kids who were not talking at home. They were not opening up at home. So they were in the music class. Eventually, after 1 week or 2 weeks, their parents were saying that we are very happy that the kid has started talking to his or her siblings, started mingling with friends. The kid is informing about what has happened in the school. So at a very simplest level, the parent is getting to know what music does. Maybe the parent won't know what, if at all it is called music therapy, but what impact music can do, music can make. Also, I have been a part of a fellowship called Arts for Good Fellowship, in which not necessarily everybody was a therapist, but we all were into art. So we were working towards marginalized community, and we worked towards one goal to determine. So what I understand, to determine the goal, what are we working towards is very important. So we wanted to make the kids realize that what their potential is, and music or any art form being a language in itself made them feel very confident, and they could do tasks which were not nobody thought that they would be able to do, maybe, but they came up with amazing work. Coming from there, the simplest understanding of physics to the scientific aspect. So the space that I work in, there are examples like in my view, a baby's central line, which is a painful procedure that was getting fixed in the upper side of the thigh. Is my voice audible?
And we missed you just a bit, but you're back now.
Okay.
Maybe just repeat the last few sentences.
Yeah. So the healthcare space that we work in. So in an ICU, there was a procedure, a painful procedure, which was happening to a baby, a premature baby. And me and another colleague of mine, we were doing harmony for the vocal harmony for the baby. And the baby did not wake up during the painful procedure. The teams from anesthesia, the teams from surgery, teams from pediatrics, they were all there. And the baby was fast asleep for 45 minutes and until the procedure was done. So I see music therapy has a wide range from the simplest level to the scientific level. And for that, we have to create evidences at every level. And this is how I think we can reach to different populations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the research evidence is really important when we speak with other healthcare workers. Yeah, like in Thailand, if you want to start your own music therapy unit, you might be start with your little project and present to them that how music can do, and we refer to all the research that we have, yeah, from worldwide. Yeah, and that's how we advocate to them. Yeah.
Thanks, Tita. I also find it quite helpful to advocate with case studies. Take a real life event, a real life case, and just walk through it, explain the benefits, explain why music therapy was implemented, and really kind of just to facilitate that understanding as well. Yes, I am not sure where Dashita is, but I think what we'll do is we will just ask her to share something, and we'll just add it into the call a bit later on.
I will do some video record with her, and I will post it after this session.
Great. So yes, I'm just aware of our time. I just want to check in with everyone. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Something pressing on your heart about music therapy and advocacy?
Oh, can I add some workstation in Thailand? Yeah, we working with lots of healthcare workers like doctors, nurse, and PT, and some place OT. Yeah, and we sometimes we work together in a session. Like in my internship, I work with PT physiotherapist. Yeah, we work like she set the body movements, and we support her by create the music activities for that movement to help the clients. Yeah, and in the big team in palliative care unit, we have like morning assessment together, and we have weekly case conference at the end of the week. Yeah, and then we separate to work in our own time. Yeah, in Thailand, they have positive feedback for us, yeah, for the team we work with. But most of the professions, they didn't know us very well. Yeah, so like you said, we have to explain it for them and get there as our backup.
Thanks, Tita. Samuel, I think you also wanted to just add something.
Yes, I didn't get to talk much yet about the International Association for Music and Medicine, which I think is also a great example and a great organization to learn from and to look into, because we obviously have the World Federation of Music Therapy, we have national associations of music therapy, and so on. But I think, I'm always a bit wary of this issue of sort of finding ourselves only talking to other music therapists or only looking into these organizations. So I love your work, Kelsey, with interdisciplinary teams, and also what you were talking about, Tita, and bringing together these teams of different professionals, I think is very important. And the International Association, as far as I know, is sort of one of the only big organization that really is bringing this sort of interdisciplinary conversations into an international level. So we've had events with doctors, nurses, musicologists, from really all over the world, from Africa, from Asia, Europe, America, and so on. So I think that's something to look into, because, for example, I would think, okay, Corneille, Frederick, and other healthcare workers perhaps that are looking into learning more about this, or perhaps joining an organization. I'm not entirely sure what is it like for the World Federation. I think there might be like an associate level membership, but the International Association is another platform. We're going to have also a conference coming up in May, and we already have a lot of, we have program not quite set up, but we have the accepted speakers. And it's really great to see the diversity of the talks that we're going to have. I mean, Kelsey is going to be giving a talk for that, so you definitely want to tune in and hear her talk. And it's just another platform that I would perhaps encourage people to look into.
Thanks, Samuel. Yeah, I think that one especially because of the interdisciplinary feel to it. Yeah, I think that's key. Is there anyone else who would like to share something? I am aware of our time, so any last comments before we end off?
I think from my side, I'd just like to thank the music therapists that are here and the Federation for the work that they're doing to try and advocate for music therapy around the world. I think just from our perspective as sort of non-music therapists, Corné and myself, I think we can see the benefit that it can have in healthcare and education and other fields. And I just think it really can be a very helpful experience for people and patients and children, just to know that they're there and that they want to contribute. And yeah, I think it's something that really, well, with time, as Samuel said, and Tida have said, that it will become a more scientifically appreciated field in times to come. And the amount of different areas where it can have an influence, hopefully with advocacy will become apparent with time. So yeah, we just want to pledge our support to what you're doing and to just say that we hope that we can have more talks like this in the future. And it's been an honor to be a part of this panel. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Frederick.
I have one more thought, if I may.
Go for it. Go for it.
So, I think that we are obviously in the digital arena here, and one thing is content creation, which is what we're doing, and then the other thing is promotion, right? And of course, we're gonna be sharing this on our channels. But then my question, perhaps for you, Frederick and Corné, would be: is this the sort of content that perhaps you could share with any associations that are related to your fields or to your personal networks? Is that something that you would see yourself doing, or is this the content that you think would benefit your network?
Well, at the school where I'm working, it will be quite handy if we have a little video clip on what is music therapy, to share on the parent groups and on our Facebook page or whatever. So I think maybe short, parents these days, they only need 5-minute stuff. They don't want to go for an hour and a half, need to watch through it all. They don't even want to read through 2 pages. They want something short. So something live, something joyful, just to advocate, that would be awesome.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, and for me, I definitely think there are platforms where this sort of thing is very helpful. There are certain societies to which doctors belong, especially in a mental health care context, and also various hospital platforms, various university platforms, websites, things where we can get certain videos like this published. Often these places like to post like news items, advocacy work that their departments are doing, broader areas where they're getting involved, except for clinical work. So yeah, definitely send it along to us, and we'll try and get it out there. I think it's very important that people around in different sectors see the work that we're doing, and definitely we can contribute to trying to get the audiences broader and more people to see what's actually possible out there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Frederick. And thank you everyone for tuning in and giving your time, and for those who tuned in online as well. Feel free to comment. We will also, if that's okay with our panel, I'm saying this now, but I did not check this beforehand, but we will also just maybe add your email addresses if there's anyone who would like to ask some questions and connect with you, then they'll be able to. Yeah. Tida, is there anything else you would like to end off with?
I think we're doing great today, and I'm quite happy with that. That I see many other professions, Frederick and Kunai, that advise us so much. And thank you for Devashri and Samuel and you, Kelsey, that provide so much information about music therapy that I can maybe use in Thailand too. Thank you.
Same on my side. Thank you, Tira. Great. So Tira will be ending our recording now.
Okay. Okay,
And
thank you.
yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
let's say bye-bye to everyone. Bye-bye,
Bye.
Ka.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.